Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Stuštuvagum Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha Swasti nः Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Bruhaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. 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 Second Mundaka, first Khanda, first mantra. Tadetat Satyam Yatha Sudiptat Pavakad Visphulingaha Sahasrashah Prabhavante Sarupaha Tatha Aksharad Vividha Somya Bhavaha Prajayante Tatra Chaiva Piyanti Divyo Hyamurtah Purushah. Second mantra. Divyo Hyamurtah Purushah Sabahyabhyantaro Hyajah Sabahyabhyantaro Hyajah Aprano Hyamana Shubhrah Aprano Hyamana Shubhrah Hyaksharat Paratah Parah Hyaksharat Paratah Parah. In the first mantra, Upanishad Rishi started the teaching of Akshara. What is the nature of Akshara? He started off by giving an example. Just like sparks emerge from a well-kindled fire, Jivas emerge from Akshara. So what is Akshara? It is the birthplace of all Jivas. It is the birthplace of this entire universe. But the point there is not to show real birth has taken place. This was the main point. The point is to show nature of Jagat, nature of Jiva, really speaking, is Akshara. Sarupaha, just like the nature of spark is the same as nature of fire, in the same way nature of Jiva is nature of Akshara. So if Jiva comes to discover one's own nature, it has discovered nature of Bhagavan. Bhagavan's essential nature is Akshara, and Jiva's essential nature is also the same Akshara. That was the point the previous mantra made. And that which is the substratum of creation is available as Aparoksha. We had seen the three terms. One is called Pratyaksha, second Paroksha, third Aparoksha. Pratyaksha is that which becomes an object of our sense organs. We can verify through our senses. Paroksha is something distant. One cannot verify it through sense organs. Something like swarga, punya karma. They are all Paroksha. Consciousness is that which is neither Pratyaksha nor Paroksha. Means it will never become an object of sense organs, nor it is somewhere in some place that I have to go and find it. It is me myself. That is why it is Aparoksha. Now what is the greatness of this consciousness? It is Aparoksha. At the same time it is substratum of this creation. So just like we say, consciousness is substratum of creation, in meditation we should say, I am the substratum of creation. To the extent we can own up this statement effortlessly, to that extent our abidance in this self is getting stronger. If we have any resistance to accept this statement, that means we are mixing up conditionings in consciousness. The moment I mix the conditioning of body, I feel how can I be the substratum of creation? The moment we mix conditioning of mind, you see this I who am having so many emotions, what does it mean? What is Vedanta trying to say? I am substratum of creation. But we are happy to say consciousness is substratum of creation. And time and again Vedanta says, you are that consciousness. Instead of using the word Akshara, consciousness, use the word I. And see if there is a resistance. If there is, question which conditioning am I including? That becomes meditation. To the extent we can hold on to this thought exclusively, to that extent our meditation is becoming deeper and more absorbing. To the extent other thoughts interfere, one has to keep working on keeping all of them aside. Now Vedantic meditation, this will be the technique. We are not interested in focusing on something. The focus is on our own true nature without objectifying it. If I say I'm focusing on consciousness, there is a problem there. Who is focusing? You can't say Ahankara is focusing on consciousness. Ahankara is mithya entity. It has to bring this knowledge that I am consciousness and that which is substratum of ahankara and this whole universe. Don't objectify it, just like we focus on some object of this world. I am focusing on the sun, focusing on some other technique, other altar. It could be some upasana technique. Unlike that, Vedantic meditation is not focusing on consciousness as an object. It is focusing on lakshana of Atma, indicator of consciousness, owning it up as our own true nature. Now, how do you do this meditation? Next verse is talking about Shabdanuvidya Samadhi. Drigdrishya Viveka, it is said, holding on to certain words, one can shift attention to consciousness. Means we can withdraw our mind from world, withdraw our mind from Jagat. So focusing on Atma is withdrawing mind from Anatma. But how will I withdraw the mind? Certain indicators of the self are given. Indicators of consciousness is given. Holding on to those indicators, we can say, where does this indicator point to? What is it not pointing to? With that thought process, one can shift attention to consciousness. So this mantra is a very important mantra, oft quoted for nature of truth. See, Shaunak Maharshi has come after analyzing life, having gotten Vairagya, living a dharmic life. His question is, what is that knowing by which everything becomes known? That question is answered in this verse. What you are asking, that truth, that is being elaborated, but without pointing it out as an object. The most famous technique of revealing the self is neti neti. Twice it is said, na iti, not this, not this. Through negation, the self is indicated. What is the meaning of neti neti? That is this verse. What are we negating? And how through negation the truth can be pointed out? That is explained in this verse. This is how Shankaracharya introduces what is the greatness of this verse. Na iti, elaboration of that is mantra 2. Divyaha, the first word is Divyaha. Now Divya could refer to three things. One is if somebody is living in Dyuloka. Dyuloka means swarga. If somebody is living in swarga, that person is Divya. That is where the word Devata comes from. Second meaning of Divya is self-luminous. Prakasha Swarupa. It is of the nature of consciousness. That is the second meaning. Third meaning of Divya is something which is extraordinary. You went and saw some beautiful architecture, exquisite carving. How was the visit? You say it was Divya. That sight was something extraordinary. That is the third meaning of Divya. In this context, which of the three meanings we should take? Second one. We are not talking about Devata, neither are we talking about something extraordinary. We are talking about that truth which is self-luminous. To know any object in this world, we need a thought of that object. Unless the thought takes place, object is as though non-existent. And in addition to that, we need this ego to own it up. They will always happen together. Thought of that object will take place, and then ego will say, I know that object. Means world is illumined only through a thought. The technical word for this is vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. So if I have to know, let us say, a car, what is this car? A thought of car has to take place. Once the mind takes form of that car, ego will come and say, I know that car. And to the extent details of that cars are known, to the extent the thought has enveloped that car completely, greater is the knowledge of ego. Any knowledge, anything of the world, it has to be illumined. It will need a thought. But consciousness doesn't need a thought. It is in the light of consciousness that everything else is known. That is why it is called as Divya. It is just like if there is a dark room next to the room that we are, and if some object is kept there. Now you say, does that room have a chair? Let's say that object is chair. And it's a dark room. You say, let me see. You go there, you open, you can't see anything. Then you bring a lamp. So with that lamp, you are seeing the chair. Second statement, in the adjacent room, check if a lamp is kept. Now you go there, open the room. You say, oh, lamp is there. To see that lamp, you don't need to bring another lamp. Because chair is not self-luminous, but lamp is self-luminous. In the light of the flame, we can see the chair. But to see the flame, we don't need another flame. So this Jagat is like that chair. To see world, we need consciousness reflected in thought, and that thought illumines the world. Consciousness reflecting in thought and ego, both. That will illumine the world. But to know consciousness, we don't need another thought. We don't need anything else. Now meditation is on this point. Think about that which doesn't need anything else to be revealed. Think about that which is self-luminous. That is this truth. It is not knowledge of something, it is knowledge itself. Any object of this world, we get knowledge of that thing. And consciousness is knowledge itself. It is jnana swarupa, not vritti jnanam. That is meant by the word divyaha. Each word will indicate Akshara. It will shift our attention to Akshara. If I am gaining knowledge of something, if I am thinking something, whatever that thing might be, that is not Akshara. Why? Because thought is involved. Vritti. Now a question will come. Isn't Brahmakara Vritti also a Vritti? Don't we need Brahmakara Vritti to shift attention to consciousness? You can think about it. What is the difference in saying world is revealed through Vishaya Vritti and Brahman is revealed through Brahmakara Vritti? Aren't both vrittis? How do we say that? Consciousness, knowledge of consciousness is independent of vritti. That is for your mananam. Next word here is amurtaha. Amurtaha means that which doesn't have any form. Nirakara, that is amurtaha. So when I think of myself, do I think of myself with form or without form? If I include body in I, then I will always see myself with form. Without conditioning of body, that I will refer to amurtaha, nirakara. Means what is Akshara? Akshara is that which doesn't have any form. So in meditation, the thought is, I am formless. If at all any form is seen, that is superimposition happening from anatma. And that which is formless can never become drushya. That which is formless can never become seen. For anything to become seen, the first prerequisite is it should have akara, it should have form. Any object you take, the reason it is seen is because it has a form. Sound is experienced because it has, does it have a form? Sound has shabdakara. Form means we should not always take physical form that is seen through eyes. It will become an object of thought. And it will take the form of that thought. Shabdakara vritti. So amurtaha means that which is formless. One commentator in Hindi, he gives very nice insight into this word amurtaha. What is amurtaha? He says, Akshara is something where no attributes can be kept on it. अक्षर वो चीज है जिस पे कोई कुछ रख नहीं सकता. You cannot keep anything on it. It is formless. If at all something is kept right now, or whatever can be kept on it, it can be removed. Akshara is that in which no attributes belong to it. If you are seeing any attributes, those attributes can be removed. Because it is appearing only because of ignorance, it is not really there. And third point he says, the ability to remove things from it, even that has to be removed. इसमें से कुछ हटाया जा सकता है, इसको भी हटाना है. Meaning what? Attributelessness is not an attribute of consciousness. Attributelessness doesn't become another attribute of consciousness. If at all any attributes are seen, they can be removed from it. Now one example which will fit many of these attributes, that is space. So if at all we are seeing something in space, you cannot put any attributes in space. That is the first thing. If at all you are seeing something, you can remove it. For example, sky is seen as blue, sky is seen as with clouds. Really speaking, space doesn't have any of these things. There is no blue sky. So any attributes that are seen, that can be removed from it. Now this attributelessness is not another attribute of space. It is just a way of indicating it. Because somebody might argue, all these points which are said, don't they also become another attribute? Formlessness is not another attribute of Akshara. If at all we are seeing form, to remove that, this adjective has come, this word has come, amurtaha. Okay, two attributes. One is it is consciousness, and second is it is amurta, it is formless. Third one is purushaha. Purushaha means it is purna, it is complete, or it is recognized in this body, pura. Purishayanat. It is recognized in this body, that is why it is purushaha. But even though it is recognized in this body, it is asanga. It is untouched by limitations of this body. Shayanam, if you take as sleeping, means consciousness is present in this body without any kind of action. It is actionless and present here, but its presence doesn't get affected by this body because it is present in cave of the heart. Gahvarishtam, that is the word used in Kathopanishad, in the midst of all problems is this blissful self. Means amidst all vasanas and thoughts, this self is happily residing there. That is why it is called as Purushaha. And because it is different degree of reality. Just like rope is different degree of reality than snake, consciousness or Akshara is different degree of reality than vasanas and thoughts. That is why it is not affected. Not getting affected can be two types. Same degree of reality, but it has lot of willpower and doesn't get affected. That is one category. Second category is real and unreal. If they are together, the real is unaffected by unreal. That is this one. Is it the first or second? Second one. Consciousness being unaffected by conditioning is because it is real. Everything else is unreal. Divyohi amurtaha purushaha. Next one is a very important attribute. Sabahya bhyantaraha. Bahya means outside. Antara means inside. Saha bahya abhyantaraha means it is present outside and inside. Sabahya abhyantaraha means outside and inside. Now, whenever you say outside, inside, there has to be some frame of reference. Like if you come to the ashram and I ask you, are you inside or outside? How will you answer that question? You will make the walls of the ashram as frame of reference, and then you will say, I am either inside the building or outside the building. Now, when it is said consciousness is outside and inside, what is the frame of reference? Physical body. From the standpoint of body, there is outside. From the standpoint of body, there is inside. From the standpoint of body, what is outside? This whole world. Whole world is outside. Now this is loosely translated. From the standpoint of body, what is inside? Mind and sense organs. Mind and sense organs, they are antar. Now what is being said here? consciousness is that which is a substratum, adhisthana, of whatever is outside, and it is a substratum of whatever is inside. So it is substratum of sense organs and thoughts, and it is substratum of all objects outside. Sabahyabhyantara. It is the adhisthana, that is the main word. It is a substratum of outer and inner. Now one question should come, do I feel that way? Consciousness is all pervading, it is outside. In what way is it present outside? In what way is it present inside? So we say consciousness has existence as one of its indicator. So it is present outside as Sat. We will not recognize Chit and Ananda in outer world. First hold on to the main point. We'll see an example also. Outer world, it is present as Satta Rupa. If I see an object, what do I say? This object is. The chair is, pot is, car is. That isness in that object belongs to Sat. Existence is being borrowed from Akshara. And when it comes to Antar, when it comes to inner, what do we say? I am. I am calm. I am peaceful. I am so and so. So Antar, it is recognized as Sat and Chit. First, existence has to be there. In addition to existence, there is consciousness. And if one is able to let go of conditioning, Ananda is also recognized Antar. We will not recognize Ananda somewhere. If it is somewhere, someplace, that Ananda is not helpful to us. Ananda has to be recognized Antar only. Now an example for this. Sun rays, they illumine this whole universe. Mountains are there, trees are there, and one pond is there. Make the boundary of the pond as your reference. So that pond is saying, sun rays, they are illumining everything. But in this particular pond, there is not only illumining, but also reflection. So Bahya is one illumination. That is Sat, like Sat. All objects are illumined. But Antar, like in that pond, reflection of sun also happens. Like that in Aham, there is not only Sat, but there is Chit also. That is recognized. So Sabhahyabhyantara refers to that. Outer and inner, that which pervades both, that is called as Sabhahyabhyantara Akshara. So whenever we look at world, we should meditate upon Sat aspect of it. This existence is because of Akshara, because of me. And when we look at Aham, Antar, when we look at sense organs, ability to speak, ability to talk, even thoughts, whatever they are doing, different thoughts are coming, that is because of Chaitanya. So I pervade inner world, I pervade outer world. Another example for Sabahya is space. If you have a pot, that pot is in space, and that space pervades outside the pot, space pervades the pot, and space pervades inside the pot. So pot is like body. So consciousness pervades things outside the body. What about body? Does consciousness pervade body? Yes, consciousness pervades body also. Don't say no, consciousness pervades body. It pervades everything, but just to help us, this frame of reference is given. Outside and inside. And it pervades inside space also. Inside that pot also. Like that, consciousness pervades inside this body. In the form of thoughts, in the form of sense organs. So that is the fourth indicator. Divyaha hi amurtaha purushaha sabahyabhyantaraha. Fifth one is ajaha. Ajaha means unborn. There was never a time this Akshara was absent. What is born is conditioning. Unconditioned truth is unborn. Shankaracharya gives reason why this Akshara is unborn. He says, because this Akshara is non-dual, there is no nimitta, there is no cause because of which they should be born. Only when there is nimitta, only when there is a cause, birth is possible. And he gives example of bubbles. Why are bubbles born in a pond? Because there is cause of air. If there is no air, no bubble can be born. Meaning, if there is no nimitta, if there is no cause, there is no birth of anything. Like that here also, Akshara is non-dual. There is nothing other than Akshara. Because there is no other, there is no reason for Akshara to be born. And he says, any other modification, including death, it is possible only if first modification is present. If birth is there, then it will grow, then it will modify, then it will start decaying. Finally, it will perish. So if you negate the first modification, which is birth, then all other 6 modifications, they are also negated. Asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. Asti means it exists. Jayate means it is born. Vardhate, it grows. Viparinamate, a stage comes when it starts plateauing and starts modifying more towards the down, on the downhill side. Apakshiyate, it starts decaying at some point and finally perishes. You take a fruit, for example, you will find this cycle. First it is manifest, asti, then it grows, vardhate, asti jayate, it is born, then it starts growing, vardhate, and after some time viparinamate. In the same basket, it will start modifying. Keep it a little longer, it will decay. Apakshiyate, and finally it will perish, vinashyati. It will become one with earth. This is not the story of fruit. This is story of every single thing in this universe, including this body. And ajaha means when I think about myself, this understanding should come. I am unborn and I will never perish. What is born and what will perish is this body. As Akshara, I am unborn. Shankaracharya says, true fearlessness comes only when somebody reflects and owns this up. Abhayatvam comes through vichara. It cannot come by having a lot of security in the form of resources, in the form of several other things. Transactionally, we need all of that. But as far as life is concerned, as far as journey of life is concerned, he says abhayatvam comes through vichara. Five indicators. Divyah, amurtah, purushah, sabahyabhyantarah, ajah. Next one is apranah. Aprana means that Akshara is devoid of karmendriya, organs of action, and any actions, including objects of action. Karmendriya and their Vishaya, they are not there in Akshara. One Karmendriya is hand. Now with that hand, you can go on grasping so many things. So in Akshara, there is no Karmendriya. Hand is not there, nor there is any object of this hand. Now whenever I think about aham, whenever I think about myself, we should see whether I feel I have karmendriyas. Because there is tendency to include karmendriyas in I, this mantra has come to remove that notion. Naturally we feel I have jnanendriyas, I have karmendriya. You know, this karmendriya, it looks like a technical concept. Huh? What karmendriyas do is, it makes us believe that we are karta. We cannot call ourselves doers if we don't identify with organs of action. Think about it. Huh? Don't identify with hands, don't identify with leg. No organs of action identify with. And then see whether we still feel we are karta. Hey, actions are done by organs of action only. And if I identify with organs of action, this notion is born, I am a doer. Look at the other side. What is second group of organs? Organ of perception, jnanendriyas. The moment we identify with jnanendriyas, this notion rises, I am an experiencer, I am bhokta. The problem is greater when we connect both of them with sukham. When we connect both of these notions with joy. I have to do something, then only I am happy. If people acknowledge what I have done, then only I am happy. That acknowledgement is bhoktrutva. Desire to do something to get that acknowledgement is kartrutva. And this is the story of Ananda Swarupa Atma. That self which is blissful by nature is seeking joy through doership and enjoyership. That is why this indicator becomes important. Apranaha. I don't have karmendriyas. It is not just a technical way of saying. We should appreciate the calamity or chaos that happens when we identify with karmendriya for real. So when I think about aham, I should think about myself as devoid of karmendriya. Amanaha, that is the seventh indicator. This akshara is devoid of mind. Different kinds of thoughts, different kinds of ability of this mind. Most importantly, memory. What all things it remembers. One Mahatma Ji would say, we should never complain that we have problem memorizing Vedanta shlokas. Because this mind, whatever it wants to remember, it will remember very well. What somebody said so many years ago, or wherever we went, what somebody said casually, everything it remembers. Not only that, it comes home and replays, either with somebody else or in our own mind. That is called as chitta. And this mantra is telling us, this chitta is not who I am. As far as sadhana is concerned, it is said, remember good things. If there is something which is not worthy of remembering, means it doesn't make us a better person, those things we need not remember. Whatever makes us a sadhaka, those things one should remember, only to come to understand this mind which is remembering that I am not. Apranaha hi amanaha. That which is devoid of gross and subtle is shubhraha. It is very pure. What is devoid of? How was grossness negated in this mantra? That akshara is not gross. Which indicator? Amurtaha. Amurtaha. Murta means form. Amurta means without form. Ajaha also. That which is unborn is that truth, means it is not gross. Divyaha also indicated that. Consciousness means that which is not gross. That is this shubhra, very pure thing. And subtle was negated by apranaha amanaha. Means I am not gross body, nor I am subtle body. Prana belongs to sthula sharira or sukshma sharira? Sukshma sharira. Not sthula. Sukshma sharira, tattva bodha. Prana belongs to sukshma sharira. What we are familiar with is the breath part of it. That is why we think prana belongs to sthula sharira. Okay, we are talking about the energy which is there, that is belonging to sukshma sharira. Next word is very important. He aksharat paratah paraha. He says, until now I thought you are talking about akshara. Now it is said, this truth is that which is beyond akshara. Aksharat, Panchami Vibhakti. From this akshara, that truth is para. It is greater than this akshara. Now these words we have to understand in the right context. If there was no Shankar Bhashya, we would get thoroughly confused. Upanishad Rishi said, I am going to tell you about Akshara, and last indicator is, this truth is beyond Akshara. Now what is that truth and what is this truth? Here Akshara refers to Maya. In second Mundaka, first Khanda, second mantra, Akshara refers to Maya. Compared to its effects, the cause of it, which is Maya, that is greater. And Maya is that which remains all the time. Until knowledge takes place, this Maya has been almost eternal only. Unlike all the other effects, creation comes, manifests, and it becomes unmanifest. But that substratum, the Maya, the seed into which it is going back into, that Maya is Akshara. That is why it is called as Para also. But Para not compared to consciousness. Para compared to its effects. It is more stable. It is more powerful compared to its effects. That is why it is called as Parat Paraha. Parat Para is not indicator of Maya. Parat Para is indicator of Akshara, the consciousness. So consciousness is that which is beyond Maya. But here, Maya is called as Akshara. Maya is also called as Akshara. So look at the sequence once again. There is pure consciousness, which is Akshara. That is the main subject matter of Mundakopanishad. Then comes Maya Upadhi. In this particular mantra, Maya is given the term Akshara compared to its effects. What is the first effect of Maya? The subtle creation. Subtle creation. Then following effect is the gross world that we see. So compared to the gross and subtle world, Maya, the unmanifest, causal world is greater. Compared to the effect, cause is always greater. So it gets the title Para. But consciousness is greater than this Maya also. That is why it gets the title Parat Paraha. Parat Paraha. Now if this vocabulary is not there, there are so many words we will hear. It will look nice it will look sweet to the ears, but we won't understand what they are saying. I had heard in some of Kabir Dashi's compositions, Kabir Dashi doesn't say this, his followers, they say, वो जो सत्य है वो परे है, वो इतना परे है कि परे से भी परे है. That truth is beyond. It is so beyond that it is beyond the beyond. Now you feel, yes, there is something which is beyond everything. But then you say, okay, how am I supposed to reach it? Then it becomes very mystic. There is something which you cannot see. It is beyond everything, beyond the beyond. Vedanta is very clear. Whenever we say Parat Paraha, one Para refers to Maya, another Para refers to consciousness. Maya is also Para because its effects, when you look at it from that standpoint, Maya is greater than all its effects. In Nama Ramayanam, the first name of Bhagavan Rama is this: Shuddha Brahma Parat Pararam Kalatmaka Parameshwara Ram. So Shuddha Brahma, that consciousness which is pure, and it is Parat Paraha. So many compositions are there. Parat Para Parameshwara. There is one song. That which is beyond Maya, that is called as Parat Paraha. Let us see the Bhashya part of it, introduction. Page number 47, the last paragraph. Nama Rupa Bijabhutat Avyakrita Akhyat Avyakritaakhyat Swavikara Apekshaya Parat Aksharat Param Sarva Upadhi Bheda Varjitam Aksharasya Eva Swarupam Akashasya Iva Swamurtivarjitam Sarvamurtivarjitam Neti Neti Ityadi Visheshanam Vivakshan Aha Nama Rupa Bijabhuta, that which is the seed of all Nama Rupa, which is popularly known as Avyakrita. Avyakrita Akhyat. Akhyat means well known. Khyati word, Khyati means popular, comes from that same root. So Avyakrita Akhyat, one that is popularly known as Avyakrita. Swavikara Apekshaya. Swavikara means compared to its own effects. Parat Aksharat Param. Compared to its own effect, it is called as Para. Compared to this Para, that Akshara is beyond. This Para, Akshara is beyond Avyakrita, Aksharat Param. Yet Sarva Upadi Bheda Varjitam, that which is devoid of all upadis, all conditionings, Aksharasya Eva, of that Akshara alone, Swarupam, the essential nature of it, Akashasya Eva Sarvamurti Varjitam, like space, it is devoid of all conditionings, indicated by not this, neti neti, ityadi visheshanam vivakshan aha. To elaborate on what is this neti neti, this particular mantra has come. Now there is one word here called as Swarupam. Swarupam means indicator. Swarupam means nature. Now that nature can be indicated by two ways. One is called as Swarupa Lakshana, another is called as Tatastha Lakshana. Lakshana means indicator. That indicator can indicate a thing in two ways. One, by directly pointing the thing as it is. Means your indicator is part of what you are pointing out. That is called as Swarupa Lakshana. When your indicator is part of the pointed, indicated, that is called as Swarupa Lakshana. When your indicator is different from the pointed, that is called as Tatastha Lakshana. Indicator is different from the pointed, it is called as Tatastha Lakshana. So if you want to point out a house and you say that 4-storied house, that is which Lakshana? Swarupa Lakshana. Because the story that you are pointing out is part of the house. Another way of pointing out, you say that house in front of whom the crow is sitting. The house in front of that crow, that is called as Tatastha Lakshana. Because your indicator is the crow and that crow is different from your home. That is called as Tatastha Lakshana. If you want to point to a person, you say Devadatta. Devadatta is that person, or you say that person with no hair. That person with no hair, that is that person. So that indicator is part of him. Or take another example, person with white hair, because that's a better example, because otherwise it will be negation. No hair means you are negating it. That's called as Vyavartaka Lakshana, so don't confuse with that. So Swarupa Lakshana is you are pointing out some attribute which is part of the one whom you are pointing out. Or you say, Yajnadatta's son is Devadatta. If you say Yajnadatta's son, then it is Tatastha Lakshana. Because Yajnadatta is different from Devadatta. Through him you are pointing out Devadatta. Okay, why did we say all this? This particular mantra primarily talks about Swarupa Lakshana. Divyaha, consciousness. It is not pointing out to any other thing. Directly it is pointing out to nature of that thing. Divyaha. There might be one Tatastha Lakshana. You have to tell me which one it is. Amurtaha, is it Swarupa Lakshana or Tatastha Lakshana? Online you can type it. Amurtaha, is it Swarupa or Tatastha? Okay. I'll give another one. Amanaha. Second line. Apranaha amanaha. Amanaha is Swarupa or Tatastha? Now there is a confusion. Half of them say Tatastha, half say Swarupa. Amanaha is Swarupa Lakshana. Remember those 3 points that Mahatma Ji mentioned? Attributelessness is not an attribute. Consciousness is without mind. You are not using mind to point it out. If you say consciousness is substratum of mind, then it becomes Tatastha Lakshana. You are using the mind to point out to consciousness. If you say consciousness is devoid of mind, that is Swarupa Lakshana. Apranaha is Swarupa Lakshana. Sabhahyabhyantaraha, is that Swarupa or Tatastha? It is that which is inside and outside. That is Tatastha. Because it is said, from the standpoint of outside and inside, consciousness is the substratum. So inside and outside is used as pointer. And what is pointed is Akshara. Ajaha, last one. Ajaha is Swarupa Lakshana. If you say consciousness is the origin of body, it is a substratum of body, that is Tatastha Lakshana. Okay, next class will reflect on this more, but it is good to appreciate what is Swarupa Lakshana and what is Tatastha Lakshana. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Happy Deepavali to all of you. And we'll start our Thanksgiving Discourse Series registration today. During the puja, it will start. So I hope to see all of you there. Gopika Geet chanting has been uploaded. Please do take advantage and chant it once a day.